class in the food category of plant powders. The world will know of our company because of plant powders. And this is what we've done, is provide daily plant food support around fruit, vegetable, and berry powders, and then more recently plant omegas. And for those that are interested in the safety and the purity and the clean sourcing, sustainable, all that, you can get with a person that invited you and talk about Beyond Organic and what all that means. And we have cancer thrivers and survivors using this. We have pregnant women with high-risk pregnancies. We have elite professional athletes that are all interested in the safety side. And so what we offer in the marketplace of ideas is really a choice. And it's pretty distinct. And you can go down in the food support bucket, in the not food support, in terms of trying to get more matter that matters into your body, or what we offer is daily plant food support, which is a food first way to bridge the gap. And functional food may be a new term to some of you. It just simply means food on purpose. The American Academy of Dietetics has a position statement on it. It's fortified, enhanced, enriched food. You're taking it for a reason, on some sort of consistent basis, and it should have significant standards of evidence and scientific substantiation. Green tea, functional food, spices, herbs, fermented foods. And we, as I said, have stayed in our lane and are the best for the world in plant powders. And what you see here is in the category of functional food, the leader in the category of plant powders: fruit, vegetable, and berry powders, and what you know or have heard of as the juice plus fruit, vegetable, and berry blends. And so, as a health and performance company, we focus on helping people focus on their daily habits and what they may be doing or what they want to do more of. And we target kind of the number one daily eating problem in the world, which is consuming enough produce. The CDC, Center for Disease Control, says that 90% of us fail to get just the minimum of 5 a day, and that's to prevent disease, just the absence of the disease. The USDA comes in and says, what's beyond that? There's more to health than just the absence of disease, and that's more matters. And so if you're off the couch doing stuff around health, fitness, and athletics, these are the daily minimums. And we know what fruits and vegetables, the most nutrient-dense foods on the planet, do for us in the human body to prevent disease. Not many people are kind of aware of how it helps us physiologically perform. And I talk about us as a health and performance company, and Dr. Mitra is going to walk us through that tonight. But just kind of teeing it up, food at work in us really does three things, and we are very familiar with the first two. It fuels us, it builds us, but it's this conditioning is this third pillar that may be new. And what fueling does is give us energy. What building does is give us the building blocks of life to recreate ourselves every day. And this conditioning of physiological function is really where the rubber hits the road deep inside us. The first two are macronutrients. The third one is micronutrition. Thinking of it in this sort of metaphor in terms of an iceberg. Iceberg is, proteins, carbs, fats, what you see. But as we all know, the majority of that iceberg, the majority of whole food kind of resides beneath what we see. And it's in the depths where no calories, all the other stuff. And it's way beyond vitamins and minerals, as you can see. It's tens of thousands of molecules. And so I talk about the physiology spectrum. If you think of physiology on the left from poor, and then on the right to peak, these are all physiological states. And food is a weapon. Food is a weapon of mass vitality. It's a weapon of mass destruction. And all of our lifestyle stacks up and adds up and plays out over time. It's the compounding effect. When I was in the financial industry in Wall Street, I learned, the eighth wonder of the world, which is compound interest. Well, there's a compound interest or impact when it comes to whole foods doing things in our body. It fuels us, it builds us, and it conditions us. And that's where food really kicks in around plants. The wheelhouse of plants is in the conditioning piece, right? You can get fueling and building from animal foods, but the conditioning piece deep underneath the hood is where micronutrition kicks in. And in the 20th century, we learned about vitamins and minerals. Okay, kind of black and white TV, but the applied science and what we know tonight is that whole foods contain a majesty, the symphony of tens of thousands of molecules that provide just-in-time inventory for our body. And as you level up and as you get into this daily habit of, as I say, pounding more plant matter into your body, each one of these little yellow dots is an incremental micro gain. And as you move to the right, maybe you're already on the right and want to stay there, or every little gain occurs over time. And when I talk about daily micronutrition gains, right, providing systemic advantages that condition anyone at a deeper level. And when I talk about a deeper level, this is what I mean. There is a lot going on in this slide because there is a lot going on in your body. Network physiology. That's a new term. So whoever you are, from the patient side to the wellness side to the pauper, the preacher, the professional athlete, a pregnant mom, a little kid, your uncle, your neighbor, all the way up to the best athletes in the world, conditioning physiological function across those states and having the body stand and deliver, right, comes from the compounding effect of nutrient-dense foods. And what you see here are beets and then beet powders. And that's where we as a company have defined our lane in plant powders. And you see the fruit, vegetable, and berry blends here, and the affiliations that we've garnered over the years that have done published clinical research, scientific research on us. These are some of the affiliations that we have that have done research on our branded plant powders. You're known by the company you keep. And over the course of the last 20 plus years, we have a body of efficacy beyond the sense of a food first approach, beyond the smarts of food science and technology. We get into the prove it part. And that's where I'm going to introduce my mentor. I call her Yoda. She's a scientist, but she's cool. And in the context of delivering systemic physiological advantages for anyone, as you listen to this, I want you to think through the spectrum of where you fall on the physiological spectrum from 1 to 10, or frowny face to happy face, and across that, and how all of this information she's going to pour into you can maybe help you level up. So with that, it is my honor to introduce my mentor, my Yoda, Dr. Mitra Ray.
Thank you, Jeff. Well, first and foremost, I'm also a mother, so I'm going to start by talking about our children. And I really, really feel for our kids because unfortunately our children are growing up to be deconditioned. So they're going to stay with the frowny face of things, and they don't even know it because they're kids. And maybe sometimes you start to see the effects of that deconditioning right away, and sometimes it comes out down the road. But it is so difficult for parents to compete with the prevalence of like processed foods through advertising, through what's being served in most schools, and through what the peer influence of other kids and what they're eating around them. And so they're kind of being set up for failure. Well, our founder and president, Jay Martin, decided to make a bold move to combat this trend a few decades ago by introducing the Family Health Study Program, where if an adult buys Juice Plus capsules, they can get the fruit and veggie gummies or capsules, depending on their age, for kids between the ages of 4 and 18 or full-time college students, and participate in this ongoing health study. Now, this study's been going on for 20 years with more than 1.5 million families worldwide that have participated. And what I want to bring your attention to really is the results that we have seen, and especially the 61% are eating more fruits and vegetables. Why is that? It's because we're training their taste buds by changing their microbiota. So it is very difficult if you think about, what it takes to train young taste buds. You can try to force fruits and vegetables down their throat, or you can give them gummies that, maybe they don't taste like absolute sugar candy gummies, but they taste good enough that we're going to be able to train their taste buds. And that result that we see, that is happening because your taste buds are really determined by your microbiota, because your microbiota, that's a fancy word for all the bacteria and other little microorganisms that live in your gut, mostly the bacteria. And people don't realize this, but your taste buds are being determined by what kind of microbiome you have. Microbiome is another word that represents basically the bacterial colony. And that's because if you look at this picture, what you're seeing on the left is a devastated forest, and on the right you're seeing basically going towards the smiley face of conditioning your body, a rich forest, lush with diversity. Well, we want that kind of diversity of life in our gut. And when we go from, the poor state to the high fit state, what you're actually doing is changing our microbiome. And one of the things that we start to see with the microbiome, we can measure these incredible little molecules like butyrate production. What is butyrate? Butyrate is a small chain fatty acid that is the result of bacteria eating fiber in your food. They basically ferment the fiber. Fiber, we used to think didn't have any calories. Now it's kind of in this weird place where maybe it does have calories because you can make small chain fatty acids with it, like butyrate. And butyrate, my friends, is a very, very important molecule. It is the main energy source for the colonocytes, which are the cells that make up your entire gut lining. It keeps your gut environment stable, and it's part of the protective effect of having dietary fiber in your diet. And so when we can see increases in butyrate from taking Juice Plus, you got to get a little bit excited about that, because butyrate is actually helping to heal the gut and rebuild that gut. It actually helps us with staying in the fitness lane instead of going down the other way, going towards the smiley face. And once your microbiome is happy, if you're getting the right foods, when you're eating, you're either feeding the wrong bacteria or feeding the right bacteria. Also, you're bringing in bacteria every time you eat. So every time you eat, your immune system is being challenged. And we need to control our immunomodulation. So 60 to 80% of your immune system can be obsessed with the last meal that you just had. And during that time, if you brought in, like, we're always being exposed to viruses and bacteria, and there's this innate immunity that's always at play. But if we see something novel happening, some novel virus or novel bacteria entering our body, we need our adaptive immunity to come into play and to be able to attack those novel viruses. So that adaptive immunity, you need good plant-based nutrition and you need sleep to get it to that adaptive immunity. And we are seeing that with the Juice Plus products, because we've done studies now. We've studied there were 4 studies actually looking at immune system. We studied healthcare professionals that are always in direct contact with sick patients daily. We studied an elderly population who are usually experiencing a weakened immune system. We studied young law students that are stressed out during exam week, and we studied athletic men who are the Cobra forces of the elite forces of Austria during regular training. And during that study, there was actually a bad virus going around. And what happened is you saw that adaptive immunity come into play, because all their markers for their immune system showed that they had a strong immune system. And if they did get sick, like in the case of the Cobra study, there was this strong virus going around. What happened is that they experienced fewer sickness days. This was a repeated theme in all these immune studies. And most of us that have taken Juice Plus have seen that, in that we are able to, have our adaptive immunity come into play. We also want to think about the inflammatory response of having the gut biome when it is fighting bacteria that you're bringing in from eating the wrong foods or feeding the bad bacteria in your gut. What is happening is you're creating inflammation. Inflammation, my friends, starts in the gut. And because your immune system is all connected through the lymphatic fluid system, what is happening is that those inflammatory markers are seen all over the body. So you start to increase the inflammation in your joints and other places. So you're again moving towards the sad face instead of the smiley face, unless you're getting all that plant nutrition. And with Juice Plus, we see immune markers of systemic inflammation go down, which is very, very exciting. In fact, when we look at our DNA, I want to kind of get into our DNA a little bit, because when we look at our DNA, our strands, whenever we eat, we're kind of burning fuel for energy and creating something called oxidative stress. That is, we're creating free radicals that can damage our DNA strands. Well, we have shown that in our DNA studies, a 66% reduction. So this is a picture of your chromosome. This is all your DNA bundled up into little chromosomes. 66% reduction in the damage of your DNA from taking Juice Plus. That's huge, my friends. And then beyond your DNA, there's something called epigenetics. And epigenetics is how those genes get turned on and off. They're like, think of them as switches that turn on good genes and bad genes. And nutrigenomics is the branch of epigenetics that looks at how does nutrition affect the expression of your genes. Well, Juice Plus positively influences a whole bunch of genes. We've noticed that Juice Plus affects over 1,600 genes. And that is really exciting because they're affecting genes that downregulate or they basically improve your immunity, as well as your insulin signaling genes are being affected by taking Juice Plus. So we are affecting the genetic expression in a positive direction. Now let's move on to circulation. Your capacity to circulate blood, you can imagine, is a very important thing, because what is your blood doing? Your blood is delivering all the nutrients and oxygen to every nook and cranny of your body. So if you look at this video of this, think of all these blood cells flowing through your body. The lining of the arteries is called the endothelium, and the health of that endothelium is very, very important, because let's say you get upset and you're stressed out and your blood pressure goes up, or let's say you eat a high-fat meal. Well, what happens with these challenges is that the blood vessels can stay constricted in most cases for hours and hours and hours. Well, that is not conditioning, my friends. We need to be able to expand those blood vessels when there is stress in our circulatory system, such as a high-fat meal or emotional stress, okay? And we need to be able to dilate our blood vessels in split seconds to keep our blood flow at its normal capacity. And I also want to talk about athletes, how important this is for them. When you're like running up that hill or biking up that hill, your blood flow can be going as fast as 70, 80, 90. Think of your blood rushing at 80, 90 miles an hour through your blood vessels. And if you don't have dilated blood vessels, that's where an athlete can really get into trouble, by not having that circulatory performance that we're looking for. And another thing that's really important for athletes is to protect their proteins. So when we exercise, we're going to create some damage, especially if you get into the anaerobic zone, because, whenever we're burning fuel for energy, we're producing some toxins like the free radicals I talked about. But when you're in that anaerobic zone, that is that 80% VO2 max is definitely anaerobic zone. What is happening is that you're producing lactic acid, for example, another toxin that your body does not need. And this ends up destroying the proteins in your body. So you can't maintain your lean body mass. So this was a study done on those same Cobra forces with the immune study. And what they're looking at is after 28 weeks of intense training, including being pushed into that anaerobic zone, you see the red graphs show that before training, there's some damage from the 28 weeks above that green baseline. And then immediately after training, that damage goes up. It stays up 30 minutes after, but even 30 hours after training, they're still elevated, and that elevation keeps increasing with time. People think if I just keep exercising, I'll stay more fit, right? Not if you don't have the plant nutrition to back it up. Look at the green curve from people taking Juice Plus under the same conditions. They are staying below that line. They have that performance advantage by protecting their proteins even during anaerobic exercise. I know for a fact that the director of research of our research studies, Dr. Manfred Lamprecht, he did part of these studies, and he became our director of research because he had never seen anything like it. He was so impressed that he actually decided to take on the job of being our research director as a result of those studies. Now let's go into our metabolism, utilization of energy, right? That's also very, very important as we want to your metabolic health depends on your blood pressure, your blood sugar, your abdominal fat, and your lipid profile, your cholesterol levels and your lipid profile. And what we have seen with several studies that we have done, for instance, we did a study with overweight prepubescent boys showing that Juice Plus capsules enhance insulin sensitivity and improve body composition by reducing abdominal fat. That's incredible that we can do that for kids. Juice Plus capsules have also been supported to show have supported, healthy body composition in adults by increasing lean body mass. Your lean body mass, that's all the important stuff. That's your muscles, your organs, your bone density. Everything that isn't body fat is your lean body mass. That's what you really want. That is the weight that you don't want to lose. And additionally, Juice Plus capsules help to maintain total cholesterol levels, LDL cholesterol, blood pressure. That's keep that all in the normal range. And also part of that butyrate study, what they showed was that Juice Plus also helps with glucose clearance. So we're looking at very important metabolic advantages by taking your Juice Plus. Finally, I want to get into brain performance. So what is brain performance? Basically, the people that did this brain performance research, they are top in their field, and they did 3 separate sets of tests, very rigorous tests that are very hard to do. Like, you really have to think on your feet. You have to be able to recollect what you just saw a second ago, and be able to perform also your eye to hand coordination. All that stuff is important in brain performance. And using the Stroop test, the Tessin test, and the wrist test, what they saw essentially is improved cognitive processes. What are these? Your ability to recall things, like your working memory as you need it, your ability to focus. Selective attention is your ability to really focus in on what's important right in front of you. And processing speed, how quickly can you process the information that you're trying to absorb. And then executive function, this is your ability to make good decisions, and also this also changes your behavior. I remember when my kids were little, we had just moved to London when they were 5 years old and 3 years old, and when we put them into this new Montessori school, and the principal within a week called us and said, "Why is it that your kids come in and they're just eager and ready to learn?" Well, my friends, they've always been on Juice Plus. That's why that principal got on Juice Plus just out of watching the cognitive processes of my 3-year-old and 5-year-old. By the way, this study was not done on 3-year-old, 5-year-olds. They were done on, healthy adults. And so if you want to increase your brain performance, that is one of the things that is very, very important to me as I get older. And I can tell you, I feel like I have really maintained my brain capacity as I get older. So I am very glad that I have had this incredible performance stack with me. And I'm going to hand it over to Jeff to tell you, kind of close it out for the evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Mitra. And I just want to quickly, hang on, sorry about that. Yeah, just look, when I got on Juice Plus 20-some years ago, I didn't have a problem. I was looking for an advantage, and I didn't feel anything for the first year plus. Like, all of this stuff happens at a subclinical level. I knew intellectually it made sense. I knew it, just the compounding effect. You just do good things over time. I began to see it externalize in me with faster recovery. Like, recovery is a competitive advantage for an athlete, and that's where I saw it. But it took a year because all of this stuff had to have a compounding effect in my physiology. And so I talk about this as a performance stack. Mitra just blasted you through about 10 studies. We got over 40 studies. So if you're into that material and want to go down the rabbit hole, we've got certainly a lot of there for you to dive into. But take a step back and look at kind of, does it make sense? And that's what attracted me initially. Like, this is ruthlessly practical. Plant powders, I'm going to pound those every day, and I've been putting them in my body every day for the last 20-some years. So our lane is fruit and vegetable berry powders. We have fueling and building shakes. And what we've done more recently is consider that omegas, who knew, come from plants. We went around the fish, went right to the omegas. And what we do across all of this daily plant food support is harvest produce. freeze it, juice it, dry it, QC it, quality control it, certify it, test it, make sure it's clean, blend it, encapsulate it, which is important because it gives it an oxygen barrier, right? Three things degrade food: time, heat, and oxygen. And that oxygen barrier preserves the nutrient density and the impact of those plant powders in your body. We ship it and you eat it. And so from the standpoint of the omegas, not only is it more sustainable, but as it turns out, it's more effective in the human body when it's coming directly from plants. And so if you want to kind of circle back to food fuels, food builds, and food conditions, this is what I really admire about this company is they are focused around a few simple things, and they're trying to be the best for the world in these lanes. And finally, I'll just end with, as a technology company, if you want to look at a cool technology, here's a technology. Our Tower Garden is the #1 selling residential gardening system in the country, as far as I know. And to me, it's just like the iPad of gardening. It is cool, it is clean, it is fun. And when children, if you have kids and you start growing with this and kids get into it, kids eat what they grow. So and next Tuesday, we are going to unpackage the affiliate adventure that many of us have been on for decades. And so with that, I will leave it there. Dr. Mitra, thank you so much. And to all of those who tuned in, God bless. Have a great night. Thank you so much.